Let's talk to God. One more thing, like, subscribe, and share. Come on, let's talk to God. Woo!
That's right. Come on and let's talk to Cutler. Hey, y'all. It's the 25th of May. It's a Thursday and the month is moving right along. And so are we. Can you believe we're already at the end of the month? For the most part, I hope that you all are planning to have a nice long weekend, a nice long Memorial Day weekend, that you're going to do something that's fun-filled, something that's festive, something that's relaxing, and make a great weekend of it. So happy Thursday to you all. And hey, listen, in case you are stopping by for the first time, or in case you brought a friend along with you, isn't that funny? That's what people say. In case you brought a friend along with you, make sure you let them know what this channel is all about. And just in case you didn't get a chance to tell them, or just in case you may not remember, please know that this channel is about inspiration. It's about motivation. It is about challenging ourselves to show up our best self, even in the worst of situations. In the worst of situations, it is also about making sure that we have been intentional about showing up today better than we did yesterday. And it's also about making sure that we are deliberate in our efforts and in our attempts to show up a little bit better tomorrow than we have today, because each day should be about learning. Each day should be about progressing. Each day should be about reaching a new victory. Each day should be about reaching a new aspiration. Each day should be about reaching a new level of success. And by success, I don't necessarily mean in terms of tangible things, but I mean in terms of who I am, who I've become, who I am on my way to being. And so we have to be intentional about doing that. Life really is to be lived with deliberation and intentionality, meaning that some successes just don't come by osmosis, meaning that they just don't happen. They just don't fall out of the sky. But the beautiful thing about life is that we get a chance to participate in our victories. We get a chance to participate in our successes. That's why I so often say sometimes you have to just stand back and commend yourself. You have to stand back and applaud yourself. You have to stand back and say, hey, you did a great job. That's why a couple of weeks ago I said, make sure that you get some Post-its and you write on that Post-it, I love, and you fill in the blank and you post your name, so that every time you walk in a room, you remember to celebrate yourself. You remember to love yourself. You remember to commend yourself. You remember to treat yourself with love and with respect and with kindness. We talked about all of that. It's important, you all. It is so very important. And as you're treating yourself with all of those things, remember to be nice to yourself. We're going to continue our conversation that we started a couple of days ago about being nice, and asking ourselves, have we given people the license, and why have we given people the license to be nasty? But we'll get to all that. But before I do that, I certainly want to shout out the LTTC VIPs. And those are the people who tend to jump in the chat before I could even look over there and see what's going on. I'll shout you all out in just a moment. But again, if people are stopping by this channel for the very first time, this channel is not about it's not about negativity. It's not about gloom and doom and despair. It's not about any of that. It's about just taking 1,800 wholesome minutes. Sometimes you all 1,800 wholesome seconds, not minutes. But you all know sometimes I'm really up on 10 in terms of how I vocally project. But even if I'm not on 10 when I vocally project, my heart is always on 10 every time we sit in this space, and we get a chance to share this time, and you all allow me to come into your homes or wherever it is you've allowed me to share this space with you. I'm grateful for that. But I'm intentional about making sure that we don't talk about pessimistic things. We don't talk about, get me somebody's always trying to, done me wrong songs. We don't do that. There's enough of that out there in the world that we have to contend with every single day. And it is my hope and my goal that we have this respite, this moment where we can just escape some of that madness and ask ourselves, how can I lift myself? How can I be lifted? How can I lift other people? There's enough stuff to push us down, to beat us down, to pat us down. But this is a moment where we get a chance to ask ourselves, how can I be lifted? How can I lift myself? And while I'm lifting myself, how can I lift others? So it is my hope and my goal that I offer something to you all that will lift you, that will put a smile on your face. So let me just shout out the LTTC VIPs before I keep on going. And then you all think, lest you think that I have forgotten you. I see T. Cutler, Annie Cutler, and Hattie Boone all in the room, who jumped in the room first. Now I see others of you, but please come on in the room and chat and say hi so I will know that you are here. All right. Do me that favor. Just let me see you here. I want to see my friends. I want to know that you all are around. Let's see what is happening in the world. I just need to acknowledge for a moment. Wow, you all! I just need to acknowledge for a moment the passing of the iconic Tina Turner, whose music I absolutely loved. Yes, I did. Gospel is my favorite music, but I have an appreciation for all genres of music. Hers was certainly. I loved her music, but more than her music, I loved her artistry. Hers was the last play that I got a chance to see on Broadway, the last musical that I saw on Broadway, and it was a phenomenal representation of her life. If you haven't had a chance to see that, then make your way to New York and go see it. Indeed, T. Color, she was a legend. I think the beautiful thing about this life is that we get a chance to share it with people that we may never necessarily meet in person. But it is a wonderful thing to say that I was on the earth when so and so was here on the earth. I lived in a time where I got a chance to experience the creativity of this individual. I got a chance to experience the intellectualism of this person. I got a chance to experience the leadership of that person. I got a chance to the artistry. So it's a wonderful thing to share the human experience with other people, even though we never necessarily meet some of them. Some people just have a chance to stand on a platform that is visibly larger than ours. And what a wonderful job she did on the platform. Her story is certainly one of heroism and overcoming. And what a magnificent job she did. She was talented and she was beautiful. And the world is blessed to have had her and to continue to have her music. Let me just say that. So that's a good thing. I want to pick up with our conversation that we started a couple of days ago when we talked about whether or not we've given people a license to be nasty. And I told you all, I was wondering whatever happened to being nice. And I was wondering if we still consider it important to be nice. We talked about whether or not we consider ourselves as nice people. And sometimes you have to look at your reasons for doing things and you have to say, why am I a nice person or why am I a nasty person? And I was thinking just before we all came to this space this evening, I was just wondering, I wonder why some people are intentional about not being nice. Do you know there are people who are really intentional about not being nice? It doesn't matter what goodness befalls them, they are not going to be nice, and they struggle with not being nice because it is something in their makeup, in their personality, in their DNA that does not allow them, or that they will not allow to make them nice. And I was just asking myself, I wonder why people just work so hard at not being nice. And so you all have got to talk to me, help me out. Do you all know people like that who just no matter what you say to them, no matter what you try to do for them, that they are just not going to be nice? Now, you all don't have to, please don't put anybody's name in the chat. I didn't ask for that, but I'm just wondering, do you all know people who are like that? No matter what you do, no matter how you entreat them, no matter how you try your best to interact with them, do you know people who are just not nice? And they are intentionally not nice. I know people like that. I know people like that. I see you, Paula D. You say, unfortunately, yes. It is so unfortunate that there are people who are like that. They work hard and they are deliberate at not being nice. And I was wondering, where does that come from? Why are people like that? And you all know what I came up with in my little intellectual head. What I came up with was I believe that there are really, I believe the origin of most emotions, I believe the origin of most emotions really come from two fundamentals or two major emotions. I believe that those two emotions are love, if love is to be considered an emotion. So, and it's not an emotion, but I believe that there are two concepts where people find themselves. I think there's love and there's fear. And most emotions are based on either love or fear. And I think that there are some people who are just nasty and they're deliberate in not being kind. I think it's based on fear. I have to say that. Cutler, why would you say that? I think, and you all talk to me and tell me why you think people work hard at being nasty. I think that there are people who are afraid to show their vulnerability. I think there are people who are afraid of what others may say about them if they are consistently kind. I think there are people who are afraid that people will try to take the advantage of them if they show up as nice all the time. I think people are afraid that their kindness will be mistaken and their niceness will be mistaken as weakness. So, do you see all of those things that I think cause people not to be kind and not to be nice are based on the concept of fear, afraid of what people are going to say, afraid of showing up as vulnerable, afraid of all those other things. Think about it. Think about the majority of the reasons why people do what they do. A lot of times when it is about negative behavior or they feel a negative way, think it's based on the concept of fear. And many times it is the fear of what other people think. It is the fear of how they're going to be perceived. It is the fear of losing what? Losing their status, losing their reputation, losing their footing, losing all of that, losing their power, their ability to impact and influence and manipulate and exploit. It is about all of that. Think about it. That's probably why people are not nice. That very well may be the reason why people are not nice. And I get it. For some people, it's about personality. It is a matter of personality traits. For other people, they worry about the thoughts of other people. For some people, it's just a really matter of low self-esteem. Some people are just not nice because they're going through trying situations, and all those sorts of things are important. People struggle. People deal with all of that. But when I think about why we struggle with being nice, I just want to remind us, those of us who have gathered here this evening, I just want to remind us to again go out and be ambassadors of niceness. That's what we talked about before. Let's learn how to be ambassadors of niceness. It doesn't matter. I know sometimes it's a challenge based on how people treat you, and you find yourself doing your best you can to uh, to be nice. But so how do we become nicer people? How does that happen? Can I tell you one thing that would really help us all, self included? So I am not eliminating myself from the conversation, but I think that there are some basic things that we can do to show up as nicer people. I think we can, for goodness sake, I think we can speak to people using and making sure that we make eye contact when we can. I think that helps. I think that allows us to show up as nicer people. Make eye contact when you can. I think smiling allows us to show up as nicer people. I also think now I believe this one, yeah, and things like make sure that you're an active listener and all of that. But can I tell you one of the things that I think is so important to do, you all? I think it lets people know that We recognize them. We recognize their presence. We recognize their force as being their energy as being in front of us. One of the things we can do is learn to call people by their names. How to be nicer? Just do that. Smile, make eye contact, listen. But in addition to all of that, call people by their names and learn how to say to people, "Excuse me, what's your name?" Introduce yourself, and if you forget their name, you say to them, "Pardon me, I forgot. I'm so sorry, I forgot. Remind me, what is your name?" Or when you go to meet people and you extend your hand and you say, "Hi, I'm so and so and so," and they don't give the name, you say, "And you are?" Just things like that, and then refer to them by their name. Respect who they are. Respect the person that they are in the earth. Respect the presence of that individual in front of you. That's being a nice person. There's nothing there's nothing flirtatious about it. There's nothing untoward about it. There are no ulterior motives. There's nothing. You're just recognizing them as a person. I know I've lived in several places, and sometimes when I go out to dinner, friends of mine will ask me, "So now, why did you ask the wait person his or her name?" Particularly if I don't see it on a nameplate or a badge. It's because I want to recognize that person as an individual, not as someone who's subservient, not at all, but just another person in what I call the human experience. The same way I want to be recognized, the same way I want to make sure that I want people to remind me that I matter in that moment. I do the same for other people. That's just being nice. There's nothing wrong with that. And sometimes being nice takes a little energy, it takes a little effort until you get it down pat, and then it becomes second nature. Because if you're not the kind of person who goes around and you speak to people by name, if that's not you, then put a little more energy into it, put a little more effort into it. That will cause you to show up as a nicer person. Because we're talking about color, what can I do to show up as a nicer person? Start calling people by their names. Start calling them by their names. And I know some of us will say, "But color, I just don't have the memory. I just can't remember everybody's name quite like you." And I get it. Walking into classrooms for a number of years, I am programmed to remember names because I'll do name association. I'll do Yes, name association based on a personality or a physical characteristic that I see, or something that a person is wearing, or someone that the individual reminds me of. I just do all sorts of things, but I make an effort to remember people's names. I really, really do. And let's just try that. Try that the next time you're in a space other than your own, a space where you're not so familiar, where you may be at the grocery store, at or what some people call the supermarket, or in the marketplace, or conducting business. And if you don't know someone's name, just ask them, "By the way, what's your name?" When people call me, if someone calls me to do business, I listen for their names. Or if I call a service provider, I listen for the name of the customer service representative on the other end of the line. And the very first thing that I say is, "Hello," whatever the person's name, "how are you?" That's just courteous, and that's just being courteous and kind and nice. I'm gonna stop beating that dead horse because some people are like, "Okay, color, move on." But y'all, it's just so important. It's just so important. So we can start calling people by names. And uh, let's just talk about why some people struggle with being nice, and how we ourselves can be nicer. And not only how we can be nicer, but how we can influence other people to be nice. How about we stop being overly critical? Hmm. How about we stop being overly critical of what people say and what they do and what they wear and where they live and how they dress and how they be? It can be hard to be a nice person when you're consumed by negative thoughts and negative energy all the time. And so if you're always in the mode of being critical of others, one, you make it hard for them to be nice, and you don't give yourself the space to be nice. So why not, when you find yourself criticizing somebody, just try to adopt, just try to be more positive. And may I say this, and I'm looking down, I'm not looking at the camera, I'm not making eye contact, but we know sometimes when we're being critical. We do. and we get on the bandwagon of being critical. And if somebody else gives us just enough energy, we just keep right on being critical and being nasty and being just all those sorts of things. It looks like we just wait for somebody to enable us and applaud us and just give us a little bit of energy, and we'll just go in for the kill. We go for the gusto. But it's not quite as hard as it seems. That's right. That's right, Andy. They're nice, nasty. But listen, you all, being nice is not as hard as it seems. It's not as hard as you think. Just think compassion. Just think empathy. Just think kindness. In my everyday interactions with people, empathy, kindness, compassion. It will help you to be nicer. It will help you to be less critical of other people. Think about being honest. So if there's compassion, if there's empathy, if there's kindness, then one of the things that I want to be with people is honest. Yes, be true to yourself, be true to your values, but you can still express yourself while being honest. Be true to who you are, be true to your convictions, all of those things. You can still express yourself nicely. Honesty and niceness can mutually coexist. Be honest. Give people a real and true platform to know you, a real and true platform to stand on, a real and true platform whereby they can interact with you. I'm purposefully remaining calm because I want us to get the fact that we need to really work hard at being nice. And maybe not necessarily us, but certainly there's a generation that we've empowered and we've enabled to be nasty. And I want us to think about that. We've dismissed it. We've allowed it. We've watched it happen and turned our heads the other way. We've watched it happen and buried our heads in the sand like an ostrich. We've dismissed that kind of behavior. But be kind, avoid being overly critical, be honest, and be open-minded. Be open-minded. Life is full of change and things don't always stay the same. So if we can be open-minded and realize that things change, people change, situations change, people change, situations change, circumstances change, laws change, the way we see things should change. But for many of us, we see things the same way, and we don't seek to come outside of the box of how we saw things 30 years ago. Well, this is how it was 30 years ago, and this is how it's going to be today. Well, things change, situations change. They change, you all. And what frightens me is that a lot of times we don't allow our perspectives to change. Why do you think we live as long as we live? We live as long as we live because we should grow, and we should go, and we should learn how to adjust to the dynamics of life. Why would I think the same way now that I thought 35 years ago? Why would I process situations today like I did 35 years ago? Maybe there's some fundamental and foundational elements of how I processed it back then, but might some things have changed? I'm just saying be open-minded. Let's just be open-minded because that's an essential quality for learning and absorbing information without judgment. I think about the young people today and the young people when I was much younger. Both generations had challenges, but there's a different level, there's a different kind of challenge that young people are experiencing today. There's a different level of challenge that I experienced versus my parents and grandparents. So it helps us to be open-minded. That really helps in terms of being, and generally, I'm wondering if I should mention this one, but I will. If we practice forgiveness, if we just learn how to let some things go, let go of some past resentments and some past behaviors and some past interactions and try to move forward. Cutler, why is that important? Because when we allow things to lock us into a space, then all we can remember is the negativity of that encounter, the negativity of that moment. My high school class is getting ready for a reunion, and I reminded so many of them that the last time some of us saw each other, we were 17, 18, 19 years old. And we have to make sure that when we see each other at the reunion, we don't see each other as the 17, 18, and 19-year-old people, but we see ourselves present day and knowing how we want to be received and seen is the same measure of grace that we ought to give other people. So if there was somebody, now this is not true for me because I got along with my classmates, but if there was somebody that I did not like back in high school when we were 17, 18, what kind of crazy person would I be to bring 30, 40, 50 years with me when I meet them at the reunion? That's just crazy. So one of the things that I'm suggesting is that if we learn forgiveness, it's easier to be nice when you feel good about other people. Let some of that stuff go. Practice forgiveness. Get rid of the resentment so that you can forgive and feel good about people. And when you feel good about people, you can be nice to them. See where I was going with that? I know I went all the way around the mountain just to get to that point. When you can forgive people, you feel better about them. And when you feel better about them, it's easier to be nice to them. That's really part of what I call just treating people with respect. Because empathy and respect go hand in hand. Those are critical factors of being nice. So I want to challenge us, you all. During the day, let me put my glasses on because I think you all may be chatting. I've seen some comments that doesn't look like a whole lot. Gotcha. All right. One of the things that I want to remind us that is that empathy and respect sort of go hand in hand. Those are critical factors of being nice. And so I want to challenge us during the day. Try to see things from the perspective of other people. Think about other people in your life and say, I wonder what he or she would think of that. I wonder how he or she would approach this. I wonder how he or she would process this. Try to see, I'm just challenging us. Try to see how someone else would look at what you now see. Just think about it. Even if you disagree with what someone else is doing, try to treat them with the niceness and the kindness and the respect that they deserve. I think someone said it the last time we were here. Let's be respectful of people's time. If you're meeting people, make sure that you try to show up and be on time. So that's just being respectful. I want to challenge us. I want to challenge us to show up as nicer people ourselves, and then I want to challenge us to continue to be the ambassadors of niceness. I don't know. I won't come back and address this issue again anytime soon, but I want to remind us the world will be a better place. The world will be a better place if we just show up as nice people. It really will. Laura says, you never know what someone else is going through. A smile and kind words does more than we know. You're absolutely right. And may I share this with you simply because you said that? Again, I mentioned that we're getting ready, my high school class, we're getting ready for a reunion. And there are some friends who posted that they're having not so good days and they just some down days and those sorts of things. Just a nice word to people, a kind word, or an acknowledgement of someone else's experiences. That's all I'm talking about, you all. Let's make the world a better place. Let's make it a more beautiful place, because you're right. You absolutely never know what someone else is going through. And that is what I love about this thing that we call the human experience. We have the capacity to lift people. Yes, as we are lifting ourselves, we have the capacity to lift other people. As we have been lifted by other people, we have the capacity to reach and lift other people, whether you have to get under them and push them up or stand over them and pull them up. Let's work on lifting people. Let's work on making people smile. Let's work on making people respected. Let's work on making people seen. Let's work on making people appreciated. Let's work on making people understood. Let's work on making people acknowledged. Let's work on making people feel valued. Let's work on making people feel uh, uh, um, what is the last word? Let's work on making people feel human. Let's work on making people feel human. We've all experienced negative situations and negative feelings and emotions, and they didn't feel good to us. So why in the world would we cause other people to experience the things that we didn't appreciate and that we did not feel? It was Dr. Maya Angelou who said, because I'm a human being, nothing in the human experience is ever foreign to me. It is never foreign to me to know when people are feeling lonely and in despair, and they're feeling down, and they're feeling discouraged, and they're feeling downtrodden. They feel like the world is on top of them, and they feel like people and things and life is beating them up. It is not lost on me what that feels like. And so why in the world would I not work to help lift somebody above that? That's all I'm saying. You all, let's continue doing what we do. Let's keep building community, maintaining connectivity, keep our heads up and keep our hopes up. But let's keep being nice to people. Let's be the ambassadors of niceness that I know we all can be. Can I tell you all thank you for allowing me to share this time and this space with you? I will see you all next time, but please know that from my heart to yours, there is and always will be so much love. Tell somebody. By the time next Tuesday rolls around, tell somebody, come on, let's talk the color. So the next time I see y'all, I'll be able to say happy Memorial Day. But anyway, so for now, happy Memorial Day. Enjoy your long weekend. And I will see you the next time I see you. All right. Good night, everybody.